Girl, this really is about the dumbest murderers I've ever seen.
I mean, just a couple of dingbats.
They're so stupid.
Just dummy. Not hot, obviously, but
No.
just actual dummies.
God. You know what isn't dumb?
What?
Jillian Benzavale.
Patrick Hines.
Ba-da-da. I'm glad she's back.
Yeah. Me, you, or the jingle.
I don't know.
All three of us.
All three of us. Girl, so Sasha, our head Facebook moderator,
Yes.
was saying to me that we got a bunch of people who joined the Facebook group in one of our last episodes where we were asking them to do that.
Oh, okay.
So we're back. I'm asking them, join our Facebook group. There's so much going on in there.
There's a lot going on.
It's the True Crime Obsessed podcast discussion group. It's a great way to find like people in your local community or just come and make new friends online. It's where you find out about all the events that we're doing and all the things that are happening. It's just a really fun place to be.
Yeah, you can ask questions, you can get answers, you can hang out.
All of those things.
Yeah.
Join us over on the Patreon. We are doing so much cool stuff on the Patreon. We just did our first big mixology class that we did live on Patreon. It was wild.
We've always said that it's a party, but now it's kind of actually a party.
Now it's really a party. And then January 20th, we're doing drag bingo. We're doing live virtual drag bingo with Schwa the drag queen. It is all that Schwa does for a living. So she has makes a whole show out of it, and she is super professional. She sings live. She does 2 performances, one to open, one to close.
Like specifically bingo?
Specifically bingo is her job. Like that's
dream.
her. She's beautiful and she's fun and she's funny. So join us on It's patreon.com/truecrimeobsessed. Anybody at the $5 tier or above gets to do any of these fun events that we're doing.
And we're saving them. So if you missed the mixology thing, the video,
go
for better
watch
or worse, is online forever.
We were lighting things on fire. It was wild. Just lastly, fam, I'm back on tour in March for my traveling book party. I'm going to be in Red Bank, New Jersey, Louisville, Kentucky, Cincinnati, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, and Buffalo, New York. It's like an hour-long show. It's super fun and funny, and I stick around after. I sign books. I hang out. We take pictures. We drink. We shut the bar down every single time.
Fantastic.
And it's a great way to meet like people in your local community who listen to the podcast. It's so fun.
Okay, great.
Come hang out.
Okay, great. It's like a meetup, basically. It's like you're reading a chapter, but it's also just like a fun hang meetup situation.
That's exactly right. Thank you for clarifying.
No, sure. I just wanted clarifying for myself and for others.
You've been to like 8 of them.
I've been to like 8 of them.
What are we talking about today, girl?
All right, so this show has been so highly requested.
Has it?
Yes.
Oh, I'm glad.
So the show, it's oxygen.
Yeah.
And it's oxygen.
It's well made, though.
Oxygen's gonna oxygen. But it's called The Florida Man Murders is the name of the show. And it's only like 6-ish episodes, so we'll like sprinkle them in. But the first episode is called The Musclehead Murders.
Yes.
And this coming up on is wild.
Florida in general is kind of unique. We get the weirdest of the weird.
This case, it had it all.
It was a notorious crime spree fueled by sex, drugs, and Miami's fast lane.
It was a wild, wild tale that had a cast of real shady characters.
And the glitz and glamour of Miami.
A Lamborghini is mysteriously abandoned in the Everglades.
We knew something terrible had happened to Frank and Christina. This was one of the biggest cases. The FBI, the U.S. Marshals.
These meatheads, dressed as ninjas.
They call themselves Batman and Robin.
They proceeded to torture him.
He was treated worse than any prisoner of war.
They used a butane lighter to burn his body.
They returned the chainsaw that they just used. It was almost comical.
It was one stupid attempt after another.
They were a dumb group of criminals who almost got away with one of the most vicious, disturbing crimes that I have ever seen.
It was evil.
So the whole thing about the coming up on is they just sit here and talk about how stupid these murderers are.
Right, and then they proceed to do so for the next 42-ish minutes as well. And I'm always here for the bad guys to be dragged, no complaints right away.
No, knocking it right out of the park.
Right.
My thing is, one of the reasons I think there's so much murder in Florida is because of the Everglades.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
That's Gator Town.
It's Gator Town. I don't even mean it as a joke. If you have a place like the Everglades where you can like take bodies or whatever, I know it's a morbid, really disturbing thought, but like, why wouldn't murderers do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, those gators will get you too.
I know. And like, people go to the Everglades for fun. You know?
You can go on one of those rides where you're like going through the Everglades.
It's a pontoon boat. You don't want to say pontoon boat.
Is it a pontoon boat?
I think it's a pontoon boat.
Okay.
But they
Are
also,
you sure?
I don't know. But they look like they're like you blow them up and it feels like the gators can eat right
through
through them.
But they have the big fans in the back and they like push you.
Is that what makes those go? Is the fan in the back? Because what is the fan pushing against? You know what I mean? It's not like there's a wall, you know?
Right, but that's not how fans work.
Wait, how do fans work?
They're not like, you don't need to push them against a wall.
To make things go forward?
No. I think the wall hinders the whole process.
All right, private school.
I'm just saying.
Somebody knows how
guessing.
fans work and suddenly is very condescending.
Oh, I'm going to be corrected. I'm just guessing, but I feel like putting a wall in front of a fan is not how it works.
All right, well, anyway.
We're in Miami.
Located on the southern tip of Florida, Miami is a tropical paradise. Sugar white beaches, year-round sultry temperatures, and a vibrant nightlife make this international city a hotspot for tourists and celebrities.
In the 90s, Miami was glitz and glamour. Madonna was here, Jennifer Lopez was here. People were coming from around the world.
It's a hotspot for tourists and celebrities, especially in the 90s. And I'm like, yeah, like Armand and Albert Goldman, who run the Birdcage. Those celebrities in the 90s.
Every time your inner gay man rears his beautiful, gorgeous head.
I just don't.
I know. I forget how much you love that movie. And I forget that every time we're in Miami, I want to talk about the Golden Girls and you want to talk about the Birdcage.
I'm sorry, we're in South Florida in the 90s talking about hotspots and we're not mentioning the Birdcage.
You're absolutely. And
the Kennedys go 4 nights a week, leave room for coffee.
The bar in the Birdcage is actually called the Birdcage.
It's the Birdcage.
Yeah. All right, great.
Starring Starina.
I know.
Also Madonna and Jennifer Lopez.
Well, we're talking about Madonna as though we didn't cover a 4-part documentary on the page all about Madonna's sex house.
Well, yeah, it was her sex house, and then it was the cult being masqueraded as a dog cult.
And I'm also
the dog was fine. Everyone.
That's only 2 celebrities. It's just Madonna and J-Lo.
Yeah, they're and especially Madonna and J-Lo. I'm like, okay. That's fine. It's the hottest place to be in America.
Miami's South Beach, with its celebrity glam and sizzling temperatures, becomes a haven for partygoers who want it all. Sex, drugs, and lots of money. But life in the fast lane also has a dark side.
And also, as we learn, a hotbed for crime,
yes.
A gateway for drug trafficking.
It also is one of those cities, it just feels exhausting. It feels like you always have to be dressed up.
It's a little
you
relentless.
Always have to be on. You always have to be doing cocaine. Can you imagine me ever doing cocaine?
No.
I've never done it. I never will. I would die the first time.
I've never done it. I never will. I've seen people turn into heart like that. It's like a switch can go off with people, and I've seen it go really bad. And I've been like on the other end of it going, but I don't. It scares me. I don't like it at all.
Cocaine, oh my God.
No, I don't even like doing my nasal spray that I have to do. I brace myself every time, so I can't imagine putting poison up there.
Oh, actually snorting things up the nose. No. I'm telling you, the booze is where it's at. You know what I mean? If you need more than booze, I just don't know.
So it's May 27th, 1995.
Yeah.
A Florida state trooper discovers a yellow Lamborghini conspicuously out of place in the Everglades. A giant swamp made up of coastal mangroves and sawgrass marshes, just miles from downtown Miami.
The Everglades, once again, that's Gatortown.
Can we talk about Lamborghinis?
Sure.
I don't understand the cars. Why is a Jetta not good enough? Why do you need a Lamborghini?
I think people think Lamborghinis are just prettier.
Yeah.
I think the name has sort of become a little bit of a status thing. It's like a Mustang or a Lamborghini. It kind of feels like, whoa.
They just look ridiculous. I understand if you're a rich person and you want a Jaguar or you want a BMW. Okay, those are fine looking cars that look like cars. A Lamborghini looks like it should be at an amusement park.
Well, isn't that part of the fun?
I guess
I'm not a car person, but the minute you said it looks like it should be part of an amusement park, and I'm like, okay.
And one of the reasons this guy gets targeted is because he's so flashy, and it just makes me nervous for people.
Yeah, I mean, a yellow Lambo is quite a statement piece. That's like a Rolex for 1990s Miami.
A yellow Lambo, a Lambie. Right? Let's get in the Lambie and go down to the Mickey D's.
I think I recently Googled how much Rolexes were, and I was like, how much are they? $700? And I Googled because I was that's expensive for a watch.
$60,000 to start.
And I was like, what?
I know.
A Rolex is a what?
I know it's a watch.
It's a what? $60,000? And I Googled it and I had no idea. It was just one of those things where the name.
Yeah.
You know it's another status thing.
Yeah.
You know it's like
a 007 thing.
Yeah, sure. I guess. Is that what James Bond wore?
Yeah,
Rolexes?
I think so.
So the car is stolen. And the owner, the cops realize, live in a super rich part of town called Golden Beach.
Which you can't tell me they couldn't have set a sequel to the Golden Girls in Golden Beach.
Not the Golden. Is the Golden Palace in Golden Beach?
That's a great question. Do you know? But
the Golden Palace is the spinoff of the Golden Girls that Dorothy's not in. Everyone, and they run a hotel.
It lasted for 1 season. Don Cheadle was there. Even he couldn't save it.
And B. Arthur does show up.
She does.
It's like, Dorothy's here.
Because Dorothy ran off to marry Lucas, who was Blanche's second cousin or whatever, played by Leslie Nielsen. We're gonna do this all day?
No.
Is this officially a Golden Girls trivia quiz?
So Golden Beach is just north of Miami Beach.
Yeah.
It has like 1,000 houses. Everyone's very wealthy. Like it's a little like community is how they're describing
it's
it.
It's like literally exactly 1,000 houses, gated community.
Like lots of, I wasn't just saying like, oh, a lot of houses. Like because they want us to know like lots of security, very highly guarded, well protected.
Yeah.
So she called the Golden Beach Police Department, and they connected that Lamborghini to Frank Griga.
Frank Griga and his girlfriend, 23-year-old Christina Furton, were reported missing 3 days earlier.
Frank and Christina had been reported missing 3 days earlier. So if you're keeping track, this is in a place called Golden Beach, which is where the Golden Girls should have taken place.
Sure.
Frank and Christina have been missing for 3 days. Their car has just been found, and now it's like becoming a thing.
But then the Golden Girls, the name the Golden Girls would be about how they live in Golden Beach, and that's taking away from why they're really the Golden Girls.
That's true, because you're in like the prime of their lives, but also their golden
and
years.
They're like golden,
and
they like
they're
sparkle.
Golden. Yeah, I get it.
You know, they were reported missing 3 days ago. Judy Bartuz reported it. We will get into Judy.
Oh my God.
In a mere moment.
I am obsessed with nosy neighbor Judy. She's amazing.
Is the nosiest neighbor who knows everything except maybe the most important thing. But we'll get to her in a minute.
She's exactly the kind of neighbor I would be.
She's like, look, what are they doing over there?
I know. She invites herself to every party. They're happy to see her.
She just shows up.
She does.
Does she bring something? Debatable.
I don't know. She brought her dog once.
She did bring her dog. So Frank and Christina were about to head out on Frank's yacht.
For a sun-soaked weekend.
In the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Frank had a boat and a condo there. He had like a mansion, a yacht, a boat, a condo in the Bahamas.
The Golden Girls were also always going to the Bahamas.
They were.
They were like, I mean, I guess it's a hop, skip, and a jump from Miami.
Say, it's just it's a rock's throw, right? So that's how rich this guy is. He's got yachts and mansions and condos, and he's just like all over the place. So the day they are reported missing, their housekeeper arrives at 8 a.m.
When the housekeeper arrives at 8 a.m., their beloved dog Chopin is home alone, but there are no signs of Frank and Christina.
The housekeeper went to the house. She saw the dog had torn up some furniture. There was poop on the floor.
Christina and Frank would never do that. They would never leave their dog behind.
He pulled a Golden and ate all the furniture in sight.
He's like super stressed and bored and anxious. He's like peeing and pooping everywhere. He's been left alone and he's scared, right?
And his name is Chopin.
Chopin.
Are we going to talk about that?
The poor thing.
I'm assuming
Chopin.
they named him after the vodka, not the composer.
I'm guessing composer because it's classy.
Totally.
Vodka can be classy.
Vodka, I mean, Chopin is like a potato vodka. Like,
right.
That's seriously classy.
Potatoes are classy.
I love a potato. You know I love a potato. I'm shaped like a potato.
I like a potato in most ways you can give it to me.
I couldn't agree more.
I'm into a potato.
Yeah,
French fry, potato chip, a tot.
A gratin?
A gratin?
You know, mashed?
A mash?
You know what I mean?
Are you kidding? A skin?
Oh, I'm baked. I've been into the baked lately.
Yeah.
Give me a baked
Throw
potato.
some chives on there?
And some sour cream.
Yeah. Are you kidding? Potatoes, like, it's rare.
Darren, did you see the way that she said yeah? Like, it was one of the, yeah.
What are we, crazy?
No.
It's rare that I'm like,
potatoes.
Oh, potato.
Yeah.
If it's sort of like, you know what can really go either way?
Tell me everything.
Let's talk about breakfast potatoes real quick.
I agree. Because I like a home fry, but I also like a hash brown.
Hash browns are the way to go.
Yeah.
Now, or if you're like, what are the ones that are, because some people have two different types of home fries.
I understand.
It's the home fries that are like a chopped up hash brown.
Yep.
Or the ones that have the peppers in them.
Well, there's also the ones that you get at the International House of Pancakes.
Which ones are those?
They're a little, they come like they look almost like waffle fries.
Oh, those I'll take.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't want like a cubed potato in the morning. Give me a hash brown.
Give me a hash brown.
I want the crunch.
I also like the McDonald's hash brown. Delicious.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Their fries are also great.
We're in agreement.
They also have the best fountain soda on earth. I can't talk about it. It's the spiciest. It's the perfect one.
So Chopin's been home alone. The housekeeper is very scared. This is where a housekeeper calls neighbor/best friend Judy Bartuz.
Right, because they're like, they would never leave. Something happened. Like Chopin's a wreck.
Judy comes running right over.
Judy Bartuz and her husband, Gabor, and Frank were best friends, and they lived within walking distance. When Judy got into their house, she knew something was wrong too, not only because of the dog, but because their tickets to the Bahamas were on the desk.
They also noticed that their tickets to the Bahamas were left behind. So, like, they were planning to go to the Bahamas to get on the boat for the sun-soaked afternoon. Right. They haven't gone. It's been 3 days. The dog's been home alone.
And so if they're missing, why would the tickets still be there?
Exactly.
It's not like they went to the Bahamas and just, like, forgot about Chopin, like something bad happened.
And Judy notices that the Lamborghini is missing. She immediately calls Frank on his pager. He doesn't respond.
No.
That's the 90th sentence I've ever said.
I know, right? Would you telefax it?
I know.
So she's like, fuck this. I'm calling 911.
Yeah.
My friends are missing. And she's like, And I recently saw them with two men that I didn't know.
Yes. I said, everyone get yourself a neighbor like Judy Bartuz.
Right. So she describes what Christina was wearing. And Christina was wearing this badass red leather outfit.
She loves red leather.
Red leather top, red leather skirt, red leather boots. Like, Judy's probably like, you can't miss this. She stopped traffic.
Right.
I'm assuming that's what Judy would say.
Judy definitely moved down from Queens.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
She grew up in Queens, moved to Florida in her golden years.
It's a very hot number.
Yes.
That Christina's wearing. Like, you kind of can't miss her. I'm saying that, like, as a major compliment. Like, the red leather outfit, head 100%. To toe, like, you're kind of like, oh my God, who's that?
But when Bartuz calls this in...
The chief there called Miami-Dade Police Department to let them know what was going on, and the Miami-Dade said, oh, they'll come back, let us know if you need anything else. And that's where that portion of the case stalled.
They are like grown adults. They're people with money. They could be anywhere.
And she's like, not really. They wouldn't leave the dog.
Right.
Like what? Like we have major red flags and like big sirens, and the cops are like,
I don't know.
Have to?
I know.
Must we go to work today?
But they're also like, the Lamborghini isn't missing. They probably took the Lamborghini on a trip. But Judy is like, they're not monsters. They love their dog. They're never.
The tickets are there.
Exactly.
This is all suspicious, you dingbats. So they find the Lambo 3 days later. Lamborghini. I can't, like, that's probably not what people say. They
I love
don't call
it.
a
No,
Lambo.
we got to keep it.
Okay.
It's my favorite thing.
Okay.
They find the Lambo.
That's when the investigation actually starts, when they find the car. Right?
They process the car for clues. They find no evidence of foul play.
And I'm going to assume that Judy took poor Chopin.
Yes.
I'm
God.
assuming,
Of course. She's like the best neighbor ever.
Okay,
of course.
So let's learn a little bit about Frank and Christina.
Yes.
Frank was a Hungarian immigrant who came to the United States chasing the American dream.
He's able to watch Miami Vice. And he gets completely taken by this Miami lifestyle. Don Johnson, Armani suits, fast cigarette boats.
The fast cigarette boats? I was like, that's what we call those things?
Oh, that's where the love of the Lamborghini came from, I think. That Miami Vice feeling and that vibe. Weren't they always wearing blazers and then, like, putting them up there? Like what does that look?
The white blazer with, like, the bright blue shirt underneath it.
Oh, my God.
I mean, like, Miami Vice was a mood. I've never seen a single episode of it, but, like, it was a major part of culture. I think it's like what put Miami on the map.
Well...
No?
Is that right?
I don't know.
I never watched it either.
I mean, no, but like the whole thing was people loved Miami Vice.
It's like you kind of, even if you didn't watch it, you sort of like immediately know the aesthetic.
Yes.
Or if you see like a photo of Don Johnson, you're like, isn't that the Miami Vice guy? Like it's just sort of ingrained. Like we're born kind of knowing about it.
Yes. But as soon as like Frank is able to move to the U.S., he heads right for Miami.
And he wants the boat. He wants the cars. He wants the nightlife. He wants to boogie, all that stuff. And so like all of these things cost a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, he makes his fortune on those 900 number sex phone numbers.
1-900 big boobs.
He's like 1-900.
We used to call that at the payphone. Like we used to go to the payphone
Really?
just to like, I don't know, like.
How did you, like, did they, like, the call would go, like, did you have to put in, like, $8 in quarters?
No, at first, it would just to hear the, like, hi, welcome to 1-800 big boobs. Just to hear, like, oh, like, that's fun and sexy, and then we never had any money.
Oh, my God,
So, like, we didn't have, like, the change to put in.
That's when, like, people started getting calling cards, and, like, these things were, like, $4 a minute.
It was like $1.99 for the first, and $8.99 for the next additional
minutes. Yeah.
So
he becomes a millionaire off of this.
Right. So he's super, super successful. He has a boat called the Foreplay.
Which, oh my God.
Very Miami Vice. He's really leaning into the Miami thing. And Christina is also from Hungary. She was a swimmer.
Yes. She was like a model in Hungary.
So they were head over heels in love. Like everyone says.
Frank Griga, he and his girlfriend, Christina, were well liked. Might not like the area of business he went into, but as a person, everybody liked them. They were a nice, likable couple.
We were able to determine that Frank and Christina were good quality people. No records. They were hardworking people.
They were good quality people. And it just reminded me of Almost Famous, where it's like, we're just real Topeka people, man. I don't know, but when I heard like real quality people, I just heard like, they're the Miami Vice version of like real Topeka people.
Oh my God, that's so, well, people loved them. They were hardworking, no criminal records. They had tons of friends.
I'm sure they were pretty fun.
Totally.
You know,
when you got money like that and you just like to throw it around and like, you know, like treat your friends to stuff.
That's the thing. Like we learned that they were kind of throwing their money around.
Yeah.
Not in a bad, but I'm sure it was just like, who wants to go to the Bahamas for the weekend?
I got a boat. It's called the Foreplay.
And they're like, oh, yeah. On the yacht to go to the... Yes.
Maybe we'll see those 4 old broads.
Sure. Like,
You know what
maybe
I mean?
we'll just go.
Yeah,
Okay. So the cops search the house, and there's no signs of foul play, no body, no evidence.
Yeah.
And they're like, was this a carjacking? And if so, like, where are Frank and Christina? What's happening
It
there?
is kind of like, I don't know, are you carjacking a Lamborghini? Like, it's...
Don't you... But isn't that, like, a high-in-demand
That's what
car?
I'm saying. I think it's just like, it's this kind of flashy lifestyle. It puts a target on... It just...
Right.
It screams to the world that you have money.
Right, and wouldn't you just take the car and not leave it in the Everglades
Well,
in
that's what
Gatortown?
why are you carjacking a Lambo and
just
then you're
leave
like,
it in the Everglades
leaving it
in the swamp.
Everglades? Right. To take it for one joyride.
And also, that's where the gators live. Just leave them alone.
Just leave them alone.
Like, you're parking on their front lawn.
I know.
How dare you?
I know.
You're like crashing your car into their living room and leaving it there.
I was just watching a TikTok of this, like these people in Asia somewhere, and they were on like a what do you call a walk a hike?
Okay.
They were on a hike with a
Wow.
guide.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, a silverback gorilla just appeared.
Yep.
And they froze, and it froze, and they just stared at each other, and it just walked away.
Okay, great. Good to know.
I mean, nobody shot anybody.
Good.
You know what I mean?
If I'm ever in a situation, spoiler, I won't be, where I'm impeding on a gorilla's living room,
I mean,
I'll
please.
know to just stay quiet.
My
it stays quiet,
God.
and it reads me, and it's like, get the fuck.
They didn't know what they even
You
were.
know what? We don't even have to speak about it. I can see the look on its face. It's saying, get out of here or else, and I will absolutely listen to it.
So awesome neighbor Judy tells the police the last time she saw the couple was Wednesday evening at around 10 p.m. They were on their way to a Miami hotspot called Don Shula's.
Right, and it was a business dinner. She
Business
knows
dinner.
all the tea, right?
To which I said, going out at 10 p.m. Oh my God.
Well, put a pin in that.
Okay, great.
So apparently Frank was looking for another way to make money.
Yes.
And according to Judy, the neighbor, they were going to go to this dinner with these 2 men, and the men were going to pitch a business idea to Frank. They're friends of friends. And I'm like, Judy, how do you know all this?
Well, and I also love that Frank is thinking ahead. He's like, yeah, I'm a millionaire now, but something's got to give with this
Branch out a
900
little
number
bit.
situation.
Yeah.
It's a little too easy.
But I love what a busybody Judy is, because she's walking her dog, the last walk of the night, right? It's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, this is my favorite part.
Judy happened to be walking her dog when she saw this gold Mercedes in the driveway of Frank and Christina's house. So she went to see what's going on. And she met the 2 guys.
She marches herself right over there and starts asking questions.
It's unbelievable.
She's like, look, she says to the cops, they were typical Miami guys, quote, buffed and fleshy. Judy,
please. The tall one left an impression, she says. She described him as dark-skinned, chiseled Adonis with long black hair who was a very good-looking man. Judy!
Right. Judy's doing a lot of great work here. She just fails to get anyone's name. But other than that, she walked right over and got all the information. Don Shula's, 10 o'clock, business meeting, friend of a friend, gold Mercedes.
Yeah.
Buffy, fleshy, Adonis. She had all of it except the name.
Yeah.
That's fine.
No one ever thinks that, like, the people they're talking to are going to be dead in 2 days. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah.
But in my mind, Judy was like, I'm Judy. What's your name? Like, really wants to know, like, who are you? What's going on? Because most neighbors, I would think, you're walking your dog and they're like, wow, gold Mercedes. Wow, these 2 guys I don't know. None of my business.
None of my business. And you keep going.
Just keep walking.
Not
But Judy didn't.
Not on Judy's watch.
So I'm surprised she was just like, just walking over with her hand already outstretched, like, don't you know who I am?
And like when she walked away, the guy's like, oh, she's just Judy. She's harmless.
Oh, it's fine. It's totally fine.
It's just Judy.
Totally fine. So it turns out when they go to Don Shula's at 10 o'clock, the restaurant was actually closed. And my immediate thought's like, well, why are they inviting them to a restaurant that's closed? Oh, no.
Right.
Oh, no.
Right. And also they say, like, the restaurant was closed and the Lamborghini where it was found was an hour away from the restaurant. So, like, how did it get there?
Right. So the cops look into Frank and Christina a little bit more.
Yeah.
To see what their lives were all about.
Their lives were all about a strip club called Solid Gold.
Solid Gold.
They love this strip club.
Well, this is where they met, Solid Gold. And they were big spenders at the strip club.
Yes.
They were there all the time. Christina worked at Solid Gold, and she didn't have her green card. And people are telling us that, like, places like this are sometimes the only option for a woman like Christina, where she can get a gig there.
Yep.
And
she's
that's
probably
what she
making
was
tons
doing.
of money. Frank meets her. She's also Hungarian. So, like, he's from Hungary. She's from Hungary. She's gorgeous. She's dancing. They say
Frank worshipped her. He wanted to get together with her after he found her as a stripper in Solid Gold.
It's an intense romance for the couple. Frank became her Prince Charming, showering her with gifts. Their relationship went from him just being a customer to something more serious.
They say it was a real intense relationship.
It was real hot and heavy, as my mom would say.
Real hot and heavy.
Super
like,
hot and heavy.
Frank, quote, becomes her Prince Charming, showering her with gifts. Oh, and I love that as we're getting the voiceover of all of this, we get B-roll of this, like, actress. Like, they've recreated the strip club, but just with one person.
Like the love affair.
Totally. And
that's
she's
what
just
it felt. It felt like it was just the two of them.
She's dancing on a pole. I'm like, how did this girl get this job?
Oh, my God.
You know what I mean?
But it turns out this was not the first relationship that Frank had at the strip club.
We're going to learn about Beatrice and not Beatrice Arthur.
No.
Not B. Arthur. This is a different Beatrice. She was a dancer at Solid Gold.
Well, because Frank was casting women from the clubs in his, like, sex hotline commercials.
Fam, if you're so young that you don't remember the 900 numbers, go to YouTube and, like, Google, like, 900 number ads and just watch how... Give us the voice. What do they sound like?
Hi. Thanks for calling 1-800-BIG boobs. What if I called 1-900-BIG boobs right now? Do you think it still exists?
Oh, my God.
I'm doing it.
Oh, my God.
1-900-BIG
boobs.
BIGBOOBS. I'm going to tell my accountant this was a business expense.
He's not going to ask you any.
Has been restricted or is unavailable. Please contact customer care for assistance.
Customer care at 1-900-BIG boobs. Will you give us more of the voice? Because I think we'll get like TikTok for days out of it. Please.
Hi. It's $1.99 for the first minute, and then $16.99 for each additional. There was always like a recording, and I think once you got past, we never got past the recording.
Oh my,
but
$16.99.
Yeah, after you got past the recording, then you would get like Beatrice or someone else actually doing whatever she's doing, lying to your face over the phone about where she is and what she's doing and how much she wants you.
It comes very naturally
for $8.99 a minute.
For $8.99.
But now, like, it makes sense that these things don't exist anymore at the internet.
Yeah, the cops are kind of looking at Beatrice like, could you be the jealous, spurned ex-lover and you kill them?
Because she's saying that she and Frank had an affair, but it was over and she moved on.
Yes.
And now it's not clear. They're not telling us if Frank cheated on Christina with Beatrice. They just say affair.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're saying it as like they had a fling, but to me, affair means you're cheating.
It feels like Christina doesn't work there anymore.
Right, but I don't think he was cheating.
No.
I don't think that's what
I also don't
was.
think that Beatrice did this.
No, it's just she didn't. Because the question is like, is it a jealousy thing? Did she hire someone? Like, what's the deal?
Well, so now they turn back to the two men that Judy Two Shoes or whatever her name was.
Judy Two Shoes, I love.
Judy Two Shoes, the neighbor had seen them with the night that they went missing.
So the thing is, Judy can't give the cops any information on these guys. She just knows they were, quote, weightlifter types.
Yes.
And so then, like, the homicide captain, Captain Al Harper, is like, wait, did you say weightlifters?
Right.
Because Captain Al knows a private eye named Ed Dubois, and Ed Dubois tells Captain Al about a client named Mark Schiller.
No, hang on a second. Ed Dubois, that's his name.
That's his name.
Every single person in this documentary calls him Dubois.
One says Dubois, and everyone else says, and it's
Dubois.
not Ed himself.
No.
Someone says Dubois, and everyone else is like, Dubois. Okay.
Right, because we learn that there's like another case of a rich man named Mark Schiller.
Ed's client, Mark Schiller, was tortured by a violent gang who stole $2 million from him.
Mr. Schiller had been the victim of an abduction in November of 1994 and was held captive in a warehouse by a group of individuals, big muscleheads, in the Miami Lakes area.
Yeah, held him prisoner and tortured him for a month while stealing $2 million from him.
I mean, really horrible stuff. They were like tasering him and putting cigarettes out on him. Like horrible, horrible. But the guys who did this were, quote, big muscleheads.
Yes.
So when Judy Two Shoes tells the captain, I don't know much about them, but they were like big weightlifting types.
Yes.
And he was like, wait a second.
Now you wait a second.
I've seen this movie before.
Yes. But the police, they had initially dismissed Mark Schiller's story because he didn't want to call the cops.
And we'll learn why.
Yes. It's like it's a wild, wild story.
And all of this happened, these like big muscleheads, as they called them, this all happened in the Miami Lakes area. And that's where Frank and Christina were headed the night they went missing.
Right. And we get the story here about like what happened to Mark. So Mark is telling the cops, here's what happened. Two guys grabbed me, tased me a whole bunch of times, throw me in the back of a van, duct taped me up and shackled him and kept on tasing him.
And after like a month of torture, they drain his bank account because they're forcing Mark to sign the documents over to them.
Now, they have this guy in a warehouse tied and duct taped to a chair where they are burning burning him with cigarettes.
horrible.
They're not feeding him. He's in there for a month with a fucking bag over his face where they're bringing documents for him to sign. He can't even see what they are. He's blindfolded.
So he's giving them access to his bank accounts. He's transferring ownership of his condo. They took his cars. They moved into his home. One of the cops is like, they were living his life.
They literally moved into his house. And I'm like, does this guy not have a single friend? No Judy Two-Face down the street who's noticing every coming and going in that.
No one else was coming to the house?
No one is looking for, no one is like, hey, these two weird thugs just moved into my friend Mark's house, and I also haven't seen Mark in a month. So maybe
weird.
No one noticed that this guy was missing.
And it's not like the bad guys were being subtle, because this is where we start learning about just how fucking stupid these people are.
I know.
Because they tell Mark, the guy they're torturing, hey, we're the Sun Gym Gang. And we're spending all your money. And you know where we're spending it? At the Solid Gold Strip Club. Oh,
sound familiar?
Familiar.
But they're like, we're told they're dating the strippers. They're dropping $2,000 to $3,000 per night on each of these women.
Right. And then one of them, over a month, gets wise and says, wait a second.
Yeah.
We just told Mark Schiller everything we did, and we said we're the Sun Gym Gang, and we told them like where we're spending all his money. Like, we can't let him go. He knows too much.
We gotta
just have to
this
kill
guy
him.
Now, they also come up with the dumbest plan for killing this guy.
Oh my God. So the first plan is to make it look like a car accident.
Yeah.
They drive Marcelo Schiller west of Miami International Airport. They get him very drunk. They put him into the driver's seat. They crash his car into a light pole, and they torch the car. He gets himself out of the car.
They thought that Mark Schiller was gone, dead. But Mark Schiller did not die.
They think he's dead, and he survived.
Yes.
They're just like, oh, like, glad we knocked that off our list. But no, the guy's alive.
How stupid are you that you don't wait to make, I'm glad they didn't, but
no, stay stupid, everyone.
Right.
This is
they
great.
and how did they get him so drunk? How did they get the alcohol
They probably
into
just
him?
put like a funnel in his mouth and forced him to do it. And also, like, he's been tortured they totally broke him down mentally.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not giving these guys any credit, but like, after being tortured for a month, God knows, right?
Yeah.
So he's too scared to go to the police. We'll get into why in a minute.
Yes, and not for a good reason. Because I'm like, there's got to be more to this guy.
I know.
You can't just say that this man's been tortured and missing for a month.
Right.
Then in a burning car, but he's too scared to go to the cops. What's going on here?
Right.
There's got to be more to that story.
But he calls Ed Dubois, private eye, who loves his job.
Du Bois.
And so Ed looks at the papers that Mark was forced to sign because it's public record. It's like a transfer of ownership for real estate.
How stupid do you have to be that you're making him sign documents that will be public? You're leaving a trail of breadcrumbs right to you.
Right. And they also have to be notarized.
Yeah.
They're notarized by a guy named John Meese. Now, John Meese is a CPA, and he's also the owner of a popular weightlifter's paradise in Miami. Say it with me. What's it called? The Sun Gym. Like the Sun Gym gang.
Yes.
What idiots. Everyone stay stupid.
Right.
So Ed the PI is like, I need to talk to this John Meese guy. Remember, John Meese he knows exactly what's going on here.
Course.
He notarized the public document of the transfer of ownership for Mark Schiller, who's been missing for a month.
Yes.
Ed the PI goes to meet with John. John, the idiot,
in John's office. It's like he's been invited by John Meese to go to John Meese's office.
He keeps the private eye waiting.
And they put me into a waiting room. We noticed that the trash can in there was overflowing with paper. And we started just to go through it to see if there was anything relevant, and it was all relevant. I took it all. I stuffed it down my pants, I stuffed it in my jacket, and it was a glory hole of evidence.
He calls it a glory hole of evidence.
Okay, I was...
Ed, that does not mean what you think it means.
A glory hole of evidence, sir.
I mean, he definitely misspoke.
Yes.
I don't know by accident or on purpose or what's going on. But I was like, he said what?
Oh, what? A glory
Even the
hole?
caption said glory hole of evidence.
I know.
And if you don't know what that means, do not look it up.
Do not look it up. Or do.
Or whatever, if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he means like a treasure trove.
Yes.
Because he takes all these papers and shoves them down his pants. So he can look at them later.
Shoves them down his pants.
He said it. He's like, I'm shoving them in my shirt,
right down
shoving them down my pants. So here's what he found. Bank statements from the Sun Gym where they deposited the checks from Mark Schiller and copies of the checks that were paid to, quote, each one of the bad guys.
Yes.
So they were able to find all the information they needed on the 11 people involved in this.
11 people.
To recap what these fucking dingbats did.
Yes.
They did everything that was going to be public record anyway.
Yeah.
They printed out the documents. They didn't shred them.
No.
They left them in a public place and then put a private eye in that same room, and then you kept him waiting.
I know.
Keep it up, everyone. Round of applause. That's excellent. Excellent work.
It's absolutely excellent work.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
You leave him waiting in the room with the papers on display.
But this Mark guy, the one that they kidnapped and tortured for a month, the cops don't believe him. And this judge is here to say, like, the cops really didn't take him seriously because he's in the hospital after being missing for a month and doesn't call the cops. He calls a private investigator instead.
Right, but the cops go to, like, the shitty route because they're like, we don't like that he went to a private eye and didn't go to us first.
Right, yeah.
And he's probably a drug dealer and making this all up. And I'm like, can we meet in the middle? We have to go to 100 and start accusing this guy of stuff.
But also, like, this guy's a piece of shit.
So what happens is, because Ed the PI is like, okay, coppers, like, I'm telling you something right now. This is very real. This gang is dangerous. Mark my words, this is going to happen again. And when it does, you're going to have blood on your hands. But if you're not going to believe my guy, like, what am I going to do, right? Yep. But he was right. Because the cops are now talking to Ed the PI and Mark the survivor because they need their help. Because Judy Two Shoes was like, oh, weightlifters. And Captain Al was like, weightlifters, you say?
Yeah.
I totally fucked up a case on that. Let's go back to it.
Yep.
So the cops finally get to the bottom of why Mark Schiller didn't call them.
Mark Schiller throws police a curveball when he reveals what he does for a living.
Schiller was involved in Medicare fraud.
Mark Schiller tells detectives that the Sun Gym gang threatened him. If he went to the police about the money they stole from him, they would turn him in for his illegal business.
He was involved in Medicare fraud and stealing money from old people.
And, like, the bad guys knew this, so that while they've got him tied to a chair and they're blowtorching his toes,
they know he can't go to the police.
And stealing $2.5 million, they're like, if you try to rat us out, we'll turn you in for your Medicare fraud.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And to me, it's like, I feel like maybe there is a chance that if you have a good enough lawyer, you can get a deal here.
Yes.
With the cops being like, Medicare, I will pay back the Medicare fraud.
Yes.
I have my life. I'll do anything. But like, these guys are dangerous. I'm not saying that Medicare fraud is not bad.
No.
It is terrible.
And it's the one, quote, smart thing these dumb idiots did was that they kidnapped a guy who couldn't go to the cops.
Right.
You know? But, like, how many of those are there out there? You know?
Exactly.
And, like, they think they're just getting started on their, like, on their kidnapping spree.
Right. And because, like, Frank, our victim here with Christina, he's not a bad guy. He doesn't, like, his 9-100 number is, like, even though people think it's sleazy, it's still on the up and up.
Totally.
He was doing everything right. Like, there was no, like, fraud here of any kind. So, but I think the dummy muscleheads were just like, oh, it's 1-900. And he's at a strip club all the time. It's got to be totally shady stuff. And it wasn't.
And it wasn't. But now that the detectives have connected the first guy that was kidnapped and found alive, thank God, they're thinking, okay, maybe it's the same people who kidnapped Frank and Christina. Let's run to that warehouse where they kept this guy and tortured him for a month and see if they're there. And they're not.
And they're not. And also, there's no evidence that this gang is involved just yet because there's no bank activity on Frank or Christina's accounts.
Right.
Their house hasn't been touched.
So they're saying that, like, well, they kidnapped this other guy to steal all of his money. If it's the same people and the same motive, they would have done the same thing to Frank and Christina. But there's no evidence that they did that.
And the car was dumped in Gatortown. So like they're not reaping the rewards in any way, so to speak.
What kind of car was it?
It's a Lambo.
It's a Lambo.
It's a yellow Lambo. Keep up, sweetheart. So thanks to Ed the PI.
Du Bois.
Ed Du Bois. Ed's like, oh, fine, you can have my notes. You're welcome.
Yes.
Just editors note they were down my pants for quite some time.
I want to see, like, the reenactment of him, like, realizing what's there and just shoving it down his pants.
Like, this John Meese guy is a fucking idiot. Because also, how do you not notice someone shoving 20 papers from your trash can down their pants?
Crinkling as he's walking.
I'm sure he was like, never mind, John.
I know.
I have to go defrost my freezer. I can't be here anymore. I have to go wash my hair. Some other excuse.
Bye.
So Ed the PI's like, hey, coppers, look at Danny Lugo.
Yes.
Danny Lugo was the ringleader of the Sun Gym gang. He was the mastermind, and he's the one that plotted the entire criminal activity. Danny Lugo is a convicted felon. Recently out of federal prison.
He's a convicted felon. He was recently let out of federal prison, also for bilking elderly people out of millions of dollars in fraudulent insurance schemes.
Right.
So this is kind of maybe how he knew that the other guy was like, it takes one to know one or whatever.
They all see each other at the fraud meetings.
Totally.
Hey, Danny!
Hey, Danny!
How's
it's
it
Lugo!
going? Oh, my God.
My friend.
How much money did you steal? How many lives did you ruin today?
I know. Oh, God, this happened to my mother.
I know, it's horrifying.
It happened to it's so awful. But if you remember, Judy Two Teeth, said that
she's two shoes, two face, two teeth.
Right.
Can't wait to see what's next.
What is her actual name? Judy Bartooth?
Bartooth. Yeah.
I was thinking it because like 2 bars.
Oh, great.
I'd like to hit 2 bars between here and home.
Great.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I remember her
There
name.
are plenty.
Yeah, there's lots.
There are plenty.
But remember how she was described, one of them as like striking, one of the 2 men that she saw with Frank and Christina?
Yeah.
Listen to this description of Danny Lugo. Personable, charismatic, 6'12", excellent liar. So he's like the tall, hot one.
I mean, she called him an Adonis.
Yes.
So he's kind of got like the Miami look,
Yes.
is what she's trying to say, right?
And we learned about this guy in 92. He's released from prison. He was, quote, lured by the glitz and glamour of Miami. He heads down there to like start a new life. He's an avid bodybuilder and he applies for a job at the Sun Gym.
And he's now the manager.
Right.
So this is a gym specifically for people who want to be bodybuilders.
Yes.
It's not like it's not for
It's not a gym
like
I
the
would go to.
casual
Yes.
or even someone who's really focused on going to the gym. This is like you're working to be a bodybuilder and probably be in those shows or
Yes.
whatever. Like that's the whole
God.
vibe. So
why is that attractive to people?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
You should like what you like. I'm not shaming anybody for anything,
Yeah.
but those like overly buff built, like
Yeah.
I just, oh my God.
To me, based on what I've learned about them, is that they also like aren't all that much fun because they're so focused on doing this all the time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, even if I thought that was hot, it was kind of like, but are we going to hang out?
Right, totally.
Like if we go to the movies, you're not having popcorn even? Like, what do you like? Do you even dip your Domino's in ranch? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Domino's is not even on the table.
It's a non-negotiable.
It's a no fun.
If you're
zone.
not dipping your Domino's in ranch and ordering the orange Fanta to go along with it, then what are we doing here?
Crazy.
Do you know what I mean?
It's like I can't.
No,
come on. I was trying to have a good day today. Do you know what I'm saying?
But they say so. Danny's the manager of this Sun Gym, and they're saying
it wasn't long before Danny leveraged his position of power to begin organizing his little group of criminals, and they called themselves the Sun Gym Gang.
He's basically finding people who come to the gym that just want to like live a life of crime.
Right. Like they're all scammers.
Right.
So one of these guys is Adrian Doorball.
Yes.
And he's from Trinidad and he's younger than Danny Lugo. He sort of becomes like a disciple of Danny's.
He looks up to him. He wants to like, Danny's like the big, hot, strong guy at the gym.
They call themselves Batman and Robin.
Right.
Danny's Batman.
Of course. Danny's always Batman.
Always
Batman.
Don't you forget it.
Yes. We meet 34-year-old George Delgado who hires Lugo to be his trainer.
Yeah.
And it's like not long before this Delgado guy is under Anthony Lugo's spell. And he's the one who tells Lugo about his boss, multimillionaire Mark Schiller.
So
if you're not paying attention, he's the one that's going to get tied to a chair and tortured for a month.
Right. And so, but he's the one who's doing Medicare fraud. So like, what is he doing that he's someone's boss? Like, is his whole company fraud?
I mean, or
is he doing that on the side?
And like this guy Delgado definitely is on the inside. He knows about the fraud. He knows what he's doing.
Because he's like, I got a great, no pun intended, I got a great mark for you. His name is Mark Schiller. Like, he's perfect. He won't go to the cops. I know he's got a ton of money. Like, let's do this.
God, you cannot trust anybody. But also, you're committing Medicare fraud. You should get caught, but not tortured.
I don't trust.
They were taking a nobody.
A nobody.
You don't trust a nobody.
I know trust a nobody. No. He had.
Do you trust me?
No. I don't trust nobody and nobody trusts me, as they say.
Oh, my God.
So they hatched this plan to kidnap Mark Schiller.
Right.
And now the cops, of course, so that's like the Mark Schiller story. Like,
so
that
now they know
story.
the Mark Schiller story is real. Like, here's a guy who, like, these are the guys who planned it all.
And Danny Lugo is at the top of it. So the first stop, we're going back to the strip club. We're heading to Solid Gold again.
Because they got to find him. Like, they know that they got to talk to this guy, Lugo. They got to find him. They go back to Solid Gold.
Now, they interview Danny's girlfriend, Sabina.
Sabina will believe anything anybody
Poor
tells her.
Sabina. But, like,
I know.
This guy's an asshole and a master manipulator, right? That was the first thing we learned about him, that he's good at manipulating people.
True.
So she admits, she's like, look, I do know Frank and Christina.
Because they come in here all the fucking time.
But I did not introduce them to my boyfriend, Danny. And she says, well, the thing about Danny is...
Danny Lugo was a very scheming guy. He never told anybody the truth, and that included people like Sabina. He told her that he was this double agent and that he was working for the government, and she believed it.
Sabina tells police that Danny is on a secret mission, and she doesn't know when he will be back.
He's a secret agent, he told me, and so I believe him.
And I don't know when he's going to be back.
Yes.
And it's like, this is Danny's shitty way of like being able to cheat on Sabina and do shady things without her knowing. Like, I don't think she knew that he was as bad as he really was.
But he told her that he was like a government agent, spy.
Right.
She believes
This is Tinder swindler, right? Didn't he say that? Or like bad vegan or whatever. And it's just, Poor Sabina, right?
Yes,
I hope she's
yeah.
doing okay. And I mean, that's no shade. So remember Frank's ex-girlfriend,
Beatrice? Yeah, not Beatrice. Not to be confused with Beatrice
not
Arthur.
Like by a mile. Like, no way. So
Miami is nice, so I'll say it twice.
Girls. So Frank's ex-girlfriend, Beatrice, finally talks to the cops, and she's like, okay, I have to tell you something.
Yes.
I'm the one who introduced Frank to one of the guys from the Sun Gym gang.
Adrian Doorball.
Yeah. And she's like, I used to date one of them. And this is another situation, like, she did not know that they were she didn't know about the plan.
Essentially, what's happening is all of these poor dancers are like, the cops keep coming in and questioning them about stuff, and they're afraid, because remember, a lot of them, they say, are undocumented workers.
Sure.
They're afraid they're going to get in trouble if it's found out that they're the ones who made the connection between the bad guys and like the missing people.
But they also have nothing to do with this.
Nothing
other
to
than
do
like
with it.
those people are in the same four walls. They're buying drinks for each other.
Exactly.
The girl, because like she goes, I helped set up this meeting between the gang and Frank. She's like, I was told it was a business thing.
Right.
Like,
Beatrice is saying that like my boyfriend, this doorball guy, said like, hey, that guy's a rich guy. I've got a business opportunity for him. And she's like, oh, Frank, the one who's always trying to find interesting and creative things to be doing with his money. Let me connect. She's trying to do a good thing.
Right. And also I'm sure they weren't speaking to her gently.
Of course.
So I'm sure it was like, tell me about this thing. Like these are all assumptions, but she definitely is not part of it.
No.
Like
and
it's not her fault that she made a connection that she was asked to make.
Right. And she's not in any trouble, but now the cops do have a solid connection between the couple, Christina and Frank, and the Sun Gym gang.
And it was a big break that she told them that. It was like very important information that they really needed.
Because now they can say like, oh, it's this doorball guy and this Lugo guy. So they take a picture of those two guys, take it to Judy
Two what?
Judy Two Cups.
Yep.
They take it to Judy Two Martini's house.
Yeah.
And they're like, are these the guys that you saw? Remember, she was the last one to see them when she described the red outfit that Christina was wearing.
Yeah, she saw this gold Mercedes and she's like, what the hell are they
Marched
doing
right over there,
I'm going right
Cosmo
over there.
in hand.
Don't you know who I am?
Yes.
Oh, and Judy totally took Chopin because she was walking her own dog.
Exactly.
They're now best friends.
Absolutely. But Judy is saying, yes, this picture, these two guys are the two guys that I saw with them that night. And the cops know these are the two guys who kidnapped that other guy, Mark, and tortured him for a month. So they're probably behind whatever happened to Frank and Christina.
And they also show her their cars, and she's like, oh, that's the gold Mercedes that was in the parking lot. So we are off and running now.
Yeah.
The investigation was a cooperative effort between the Metro-Dade Police Department, the FBI, the U.S. Marshals, Violent Crimes Task Forces, the State Attorney's Office. This was one of the biggest cases during that time period.
It is all hands on deck.
Yep.
Because they also think that Christina and Frank are being tortured right now.
Right. They think that they're alive and being tortured.
The clock is ticking.
So they find two of the guys. Remember Delgado was the one that hired Lugo to be his trainer?
Yes.
He's the one that knew Mark. They find that guy, and Doorball was like the Robin to the Batman.
Sure.
They find him, but they aren't able to find Lugo anywhere.
Who's like at the top of the food chain here.
Yes. And they raid one of their apartments, and they find evidence of Mark Schiller's kidnapping, and they also find like guns and an assassin's kit.
Right.
The fuck is in an assassin's kit?
I don't even want to know.
No.
So they're looking for evidence of Frank and Christina.
Right.
And they find blood, but they can't confirm, in one of these apartments, they find blood, but they can't confirm whose it is because they don't have Frank and Christina to test it against.
Exactly.
But they also find Frank's business card.
Right.
And they find Christina's badass leather outfit, the one she wore the night that Judy saw them.
The very memorable, like, red leather outfit.
Great outfit, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh, fuck.
I know.
So after 2 days of interrogation, Adrian Doorball finally cracks and tells the cops everything.
Yeah, he starts off with the Mark Schiller kidnapping, and he gives them a play-by-play about, this is so wild.
This guy says 2 sentences, and the cops are like holding back laughter, being like, you fucking idiots. But keep going, girl.
Because he's explaining how they kidnapped Mark Hiller, the first guy, not Frank and Christina, but Mark, the first one.
They're so bad at this.
They're so stupid. They like go to a those like spy stores.
This is where they start calling them meatheads.
Right.
Their word, not mine.
Here, you describe it. I think you'll be funnier.
Okay, so they go to the spy shop.
Yes.
And they get night vision goggles.
Oh, my God.
And they stake out Schiller's house, and they're dressed, they say they were dressed like ninjas, and they're all camped out. And the plan was, let's kidnap him at 5 a.m. when he comes out to get the paper.
And this one judge who's here, who's like tangentially like connected to this case, is saying like,
They ended up running through people's backyards with these headsets on, yelling, abort, abort, like they were SEAL Team 6. So it was like one stupid attempt after another.
They were
like,
basically
abort,
like, pew,
abort.
pew, pew.
Yeah.
Like they were just a bunch of little boys
dressed as ninjas. What is going on here?
A bunch of little boys trying to do what they thought would be like tough and cool.
Yes.
Remember, they're like all into, I don't know. They're very into appearances and just like, oh, we're like the cool bad boys or whatever.
But it's like, is this a game? Because the other thing is they're kidnapping and torturing these people, not to like take the money and do anything meaningful. They're taking it just to like go out and like spend it on cocaine and women. Like how long did they think they were actually going to get away with this?
Right. And so one of the cops is like, it was one stupid attempt after another. Honestly, it was just endless. So finally, this doorball guy tells the cops about Frank and Christina.
Yes.
And so the plan was exactly like Mark Schiller.
Yep.
To get Frank to sign over all of his accounts and the yacht and all his assets and everything. Again, everything that's public record. Stay stupid, everybody.
Exactly. So we learn what actually happened to Christina and Frank. So it's May 24th, 1995. Lugo and Doorball arranged to meet Frank and Christina at that fancy restaurant. Remember, the one that was closed? But they knew it was going to be closed. And so, like, when Frank and Christina get there, they're like, oh, what do we do now?
Oh, no, it's closed.
It's closed. And Doorball's like, well, I live like 3 blocks from here. Why don't we just go have this meeting at my house?
And it was all a plan to get them alone.
Exactly.
In a quote, non-shady way.
Yeah.
Right?
So the second Frank enters this guy's house, Doorball attacks him.
Doorball comes from behind and he gets him in a chokehold. Frank starts fighting back and they're tumbling around the room. Christina hears the yelling that was going on and she starts running to help Frank. As she's running, Danny Lugo tackles her, pulls her down to the floor, starts beating her.
Lugo jumps on her, starts beating her.
It's horrible.
And they say that, like, pulls her to the ground, is tasing her, duct taping her, and he takes fucking a horse tranquilizer and, like, injects it into her to, like, knock her out.
And so they end up killing Frank by, like, beating him and strangling him.
Yeah.
It's terrible. That was a mistake. Obviously, it's a mistake in the existential way, but they need his bank numbers.
Remember, like, the whole point of this is to, like, keep him alive and torture him so they can get him to sign over all the property and get all of his money. If he's dead, how are they going to do that?
Right. So they're like, fuck. So they turn to Christina, but remember, Christina has just been injected with horse tranquilizers.
Yes.
So she can't speak.
Yeah.
She is so drugged up that she has no motor skills anymore.
Yes. And then she dies.
She overdoses from the tranquilizer.
And they tell us that they gave her enough horse tranquilizer to kill 4 1,000-pound horses.
Where is the connect for the horse tranquilizer? Because I want to talk to that guy too.
Exactly.
Like,
honestly.
how did you don't just like get that?
Right. 4 1,000-pound horses.
It's unbelievable.
That's how much they gave her. That's not a slow, painless death.
It's horrifying.
You know?
And also just like, if we're just on paper, stupid.
Yes,
not,
exactly.
It's evil, but it's also like, you got like, this didn't have to happen.
No, they wanted to kidnap them to get them to like be alive and take all their stuff. And so now they've got this, I'm sorry to say it, but it's just true. They've got this bloody dead body of Frank that they put into the bathtub to let the blood drain. And they've got Christina's body now that they don't know what to do with. So literally Danny Lugo's like, I've got a guy who's going to fix this. Enter a guy named John Riamondo, who's, quote, the cleaner.
Well,
okay.
Idiot. Another idiot.
Yes.
Just a gang of idiots. Because the plan is now to go to Home Depot to buy a chainsaw.
Yes.
Because they have these bodies, right?
And they need to like dismember the bodies.
But the chainsaw won't work.
These meatheads buy a gas-operated chainsaw to cut Christina Furton's head off, but it gets tangled in her hair, and it won't work. It won't do the job. So geniuses that they are, they go back to Home Depot and return the chainsaw that they just used to try to cut off Christina Furton's head.
They go back to Home Depot to return the chainsaw, meaning they give the DNA evidence to Home Depot.
Like, they bring back a bloody chainsaw and ask for their fucking money back. Home Depot.
Where is the person at Home Depot who was just like, oh, sure, you have your receipt? Perfect.
Yeah, that person's stalking the serial killer aisle with the zip ties and the duct tape and the rope and the tarps.
Like, how do you return a chain? More information on that, Oxygen.
Exactly.
How does that even happen? So they like exchange the chainsaw for these like big drums that they're going to put the bodies in.
Yep. And that's what they do. They take these 50-gallon drums and they put the bodies in it. They drive out to the Everglades. They dump the barrels out there. They say the only asset they got from these 2 horrifically senseless murders was the Lamborghini, which they had to dump anyway, because you can't drive around in a big yellow fucking Lamborghini, which is like belongs to a missing person. Everyone would know in 5 seconds. seconds.
And that's the thing. Like they drove it what they thought was far enough away, which is like 45 minutes away, hoping that it won't be found. But again, like you're saying, you can't miss a yellow Lambo. Like it's especially in the Everglades, which is like it's just like it's green and it's brown and it's swampy. Like that is gonna stick out. You're gonna be like, what? A yellow Lamborghini
exactly.
in the Everglades? At least park it. Do like a long-term parking thing.
Exactly.
Or someplace.
Stay stupid or don't. Park it right by the Everglades.
Right. Like, please stay stupid. This is, I mean, you're doing great, everyone. We beg to be fair.
Yep.
We endlessly beg people to stay stupid. We're getting exactly what we asked for here.
You're absolutely right.
So,
but this doorball guy is the one that's giving the confession. He says Danny Lugo is the only one who knows where Frank and Christina's bodies are located.
Yeah.
And so on June 8th, 1985, authorities hunt down Danny Lugo in the Bahamas.
Daniel Lugo admitted that, yes, he was there when they were murdered.
3 weeks after Frank and Christina vanished, Daniel Lugo is arrested for their murders.
Well, Danny cuts a deal with them.
You waive the death penalty, I'll take you to where the bodies are.
If you take the death penalty off the table, I'll take you to where the bodies are. And he does.
yeah. So it's 3 miles from the car.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's just the torsos.
Right. They
no
open
limbs.
the drums and they find, like, they... And what's so frustrating about that is it's 1995. So, like, with only the torsos, they don't have enough technology to actually prove that it's Frank and Christina.
Until they do.
Until the next day when they get an anonymous phone call.
Right.
And this person is literally saying, I can tell you exactly where the, quote, hands, feet, and heads are located.
So they find them. So we do have the bodies now.
Yeah.
And here's how they were able to identify them. Christina's breast implant had a serial number on it.
Yeah.
So they were able to say that
They
it was
literally
her.
call the doctor. They give the doctor the serial number, and he's like, that belongs to Christina.
Right. And Frank's dental records is how we
Yes.
were able to identify him.
Yeah.
So all 11 people were charged. All 11 people who were involved, we
Yes.
caught them hook, line, and sinker. They were hanging out at the gym.
Yep.
The same gym that they called, it's the same gang name as the gym name. Like,
Sun Gym Gang. Yes.
You can't say that.
I can't even say
Sun
it.
Gym
Sun
Gang.
Gym Gang.
It's,
yeah.
it's like, just call yourself, I don't know, like
Anything else.
the bodybuilding boys
The
or something
Get-Along
stupid.
Gang.
Or whatever. The Sun Gym Gang. Where you're all, they might as well call it like the Solid Gold guys.
Right.
Here's the places we are all the time.
But I feel like they're like, we should call it something else. They're like, but how will we remember what we're called?
That's exactly right.
You know?
How are we going to remember where to show up?
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
their clubhouse, their meeting place. Let's just all call it the same thing.
We're just
so
gonna
that
call it
there's
the
no
Sun
confusion.
Gym Game. We're never going to get caught.
Is that
We're going to
right?
do this for forever.
So so we all know.
Yeah.
No confusion at all.
No confusion.
I don't have to write it
we
down.
are great. You know what? This is such a good idea. We are smart.
We are so smart.
Yeah, we did it.
Because then we'll all be in the same place.
Totally.
All the time. And then we'll tell everyone. And then we'll just run our mouths and tell everybody.
Yeah. No, it's a good idea.
That's good. Oh, that's really good.
So in the end, Lugo and Doorball are both sentenced to death. All 11 people are charged. John Meese, the guy who owns the gym,
The CPA.
he's not charged with homicide. He's like, was able to keep his hands clean enough. All he did was like sign the documents or whatever. And that's that.
Remember when he left the PI waiting in his waiting room with this overflowing trash can of just all the evidence we needed?
It's all right there. I know.
All the evidence we needed.
In the one, like, put him in any other room, you idiot.
Notarized public records.
I know.
Totally thought you'd get away with it.
Stay stupid.
Stay stupid.
Oh, girl, we did it. What's it called?
So the series is the Florida Man Murders.
Oh, yeah.
This is episode 1. It's called the Musclehead Murders.
Oh, my God.
But it's really about the murder of Frank Griga and Christina Furton.
Yes. Fam, join the Facebook group. Over 50,000 of your friends are in there just waiting to hang out, meet people, post things about the episodes or your life or your dogs or whatever.
Yeah.
So fun. True Crime Obsessed podcast discussion group.
Yep.
Join us on the Patreon. We're doing all this fun stuff monthly now. We just did our first cocktail mixology class. We're doing drag bingo. We're going to be doing happy hours. We got a whole bunch of other stuff lined up. It's also where you get like a full ad-free bonus episode once a week.
Yeah, and that's where we do like our long form episodes. So we're doing like the 12th Victim, we're doing Love Has Won, all of that stuff that's like several episodes. You can find it all there.
It's all right there. I'm back out on tour in March. I'm going to Columbus and Cincinnati and Red Bank, New Jersey and Buffalo, New York and Louisville, where I'm going to drink so much bourbon. Like, you cannot tell me that I'm not going to be drinking bourbon from the minute my plane lands.
When in Kentucky.
I want to go to all of these places.
Great.
But I've always wanted to go to Louisville, and I'm so excited.
Fun. Okay,
Let's
great.
have a blowout of a show, fam. It's
All
gonna be
right.
so great.
Report back.
I can't. I absolutely will.
Oh, that's so fun.
What are we doing next?
So this is a documentary on Hulu. It's called Murdered for Millions.
Oh shit.
Is it a burglary gone wrong? Is there family drama? Is it all of the above? I don't know. Let's find out together.
We will find out together.
We'll find out together.
Stay tuned for the trailer for that, fam, and our funny and hilarious outtakes.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
We love you.
We love you. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.
The triple homicide happened here, Easter Sunday, 1992. A cleaning company reported to work at the Ewell household in what's known as an upscale residential neighborhood near southeast Fresno.
Dale and Glee Ewell, a prominent, influential couple in the Fresno community, were found shot to death inside their affluent home. Their daughter Tiffany was also slain.
Returned to their sprawling home Sunday evening after spending the Easter holiday in Watsonville. Was their killer waiting for them? The bodies were discovered Tuesday after the Ewell's son, Dana, a college student, called from Santa Clara and asked a neighbor to check on the family.
I mean, a kid to kill his sister and his family? I mean, yes, it was a shock.
The night's starting at 10
Yeah.
o'clock. I can't imagine it.
People do that.
Who, though?
Some
Who?
people.
But, like, who?
I've done it.
Okay.
I've done
The
it.
night's starting at 10 o'clock. It just makes me exhausted.
I'm going to try a different one.
Yeah, please. What are you going to do?
Big tits.
Okay, great.
I have a good feeling about it.
You do? Okay.
Been restricted or is unavailable.
Same one.
What?
Please contact customer care for assistance.
I want to know who's running customer care at 1-900 Big Tits.
And boobs. It's the
And
same
big
message.
Tits and boobs.
Damn. I really wanted to have a little bit of a throwback.
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, with the internet, why would they exist?
I mean, they are sexy, but whatever.
You're looking at a watch? You are paying attention to what watch someone's wearing to deem them sexy? I feel like you have other things on the agenda.
Look, I don't talk about that stuff anymore.
Oh, okay.
I don't even see looks
Okay,
anymore.
great.
I'm like, I don't even see them.
Okay.
You know?
You don't see them.
I don't see looks anymore.
Are you convincing me or you? I don't know. Who are you talking to right now? The more you repeat it.
Yeah, no, I think I'm really just talking to myself.
Okay, great. That's fine.
Yeah.